Hello and welcome to another ABRSM Trinity Aural training session. And if you're joining us for the first time, let me just go through a few little ground rules so that you can get the best out of what we're going to be doing today. First of all, do not go back to the beginning of this video, but join us at the live moment itself so that you can participate in the oral training session. Secondly, if you could actually introduce yourselves now, that would be nice so that I could actually find out what level you're at and what grades you're studying, and maybe tailor this live stream to more specifically what you're going to be needing. Okay, so now the way we do these live streams generally in the past has seemed to work quite well is that we take a grade 8 style question to start with, which is basically, don't be afraid if you're doing grade 1, a grade 8 style question has this open-ended answer. In other words, you can comment on anything that you notice. So if you're doing grade 1, you might notice things about the dynamics or about the legato or staccato playing. But if you're doing grade 6, for example, or 7, you might talk about the texture and the structure of the piece. So it's open to everybody. And welcome again, this is George. He's doing grade 5 flute next year, so we'll try and aim for something related to grade 5 in the middle of this particular oral training session. We have 4 other people watching, so if you could also introduce yourselves, and as more join, please do so the same. So, first of all, I'm going to play you a piece, and I want you to just identify any notable features that you might relate to your particular level in your exam, okay? And we'll see what comments we come out there and then make some questions related to it afterwards. Okay, right. So we've got a couple of other people who joined us. Beppo, hello to you as well. And Sapphire Naronha, you're doing grade 8 piano, Trinity College. Okay, so this type of question will have some benefits for every single question, every single grade. Now, were there any particular features that you noticed about that piece? Remember in the grade 8 ABRSM oral tests, one of the questions is describe any notable features, and that can be used by whatever grade you're doing. I do apologise for the light levels keep changing on that, but I'm not going to try and fiddle around with the technical aspects at the moment to spoil the live stream. So, do you have anything that you noticed about that piece? You might want to talk about the dynamics. You might want to talk about legato or staccato, or the tempo changes, or the tonality, what character or style or period it comes from. There are many different things you can comment on in this piece, and we're going to go through some specific questions later. But for those of you who are doing grade 8, you need to be a little bit more proactive in coming up with some things that you notice yourself. Okay? Right, thank you, Sapphire. The use of pedal, and I think you mean broken chords, is it? When you said broken, yeah? Okay, broken chord accompaniment. Yes, you got there before me. Yes, and that's a good point. And that might give you some clues about other things that we're going to ask about later, like the period of the music, okay? All right, now, For those of you who are doing very basic grades, maybe you could just answer in one go, because in grade 1 you have to answer a question on either dynamics or the smooth and detached notes, as they call articulation, okay? Right, now Beppo's already mentioned there's legato playing, all right? What about the dynamics? I could play it again if we want some time to have a listen to them, but let's see. The dynamics of the first 8 bars. Have a listen to this and just try and describe what's happening. Okay, just the first 8 bars there. Okay, so dynamic shaping. Now, Winky Cow said dynamic shaping. The use of 7th notes and rich harmonies, yeah. A typical grade 8, sorry, grade 1, I do apologise. Grade 1 style question would be, where was the loudest part of the music? Okay, right, here we go. Something a bit more specific from Beppo. Starts piano, and then crescendos, and dies back again with a little bit of a rit. Well, that's a different question, but okay. Right, so there's a crescendo. In the exam for grade 1, they wouldn't necessarily expect you, although you could and impress the examiner, they wouldn't expect you to use the word crescendo, but they might ask you, were the changes from quiet to loud playing sudden or gradual? And in that case, you would say gradual, yes. Okay, and then as you get more advanced and you know these Italian terms, you can use words crescendo and impress the examiner even more. Now, let's also ask a question that could be quite simple in itself in terms of the time signature. How many beats are in a bar? Okay, and this could go all the way back to grades 1 and 2, but there is a special little part of the question that's a bit more advanced. So, can anyone give me the time signature? Just going to get rid of a notification that's covering up your answers. There we go. Right, I'm going to play a little bit again and see if you can identify the time signature of the piece. Okay, well done, Beppo. It is in 6/8 time, and Sapphire as well. You've both got the right answer. Now, in grades 1 and 2, you wouldn't be expected to say 6/8. They would just ask you how many beats are in a bar. And in that case, there would be 2 beats in a bar, because 6/8 time is 2 dotted crotchets in a bar. Okay? In the higher grades, sometimes you have to differentiate. I think it's from grade 7 in ABRSM, between just a straight, simple 2 time and a compound 2 time, like 6/8. So well done, all 3 of you that got 6/8 time there. Well done. Although, now was it Beppo you were saying you're grade 3? So well done to you, if that's all the only grade you're on, that you identified that as being 6/8. Right, now you also mentioned tempo changes. I'm going to play you the whole of the second page, and I wonder if you could identify any tempo changes that you hear. Okay, here's the second page. Okay, what about tempo changes? Where were they and what type of change did you hear? We could have some delay in maybe your internet connections getting the answers to me, but I think the answers are fairly easy on there. How many times did you hear the tempo change? Was it just the once or maybe more than once? And where did they occur? And how did they occur? Okay, this is more of a grade 2 style question. So for Beppo, it will probably definitely come into grade 3 as well, because they ask new things as well as some of the old things as well that you had before, like dynamics and legato playing, etc. Okay, Deathmaster 64, 6/8 time. Okay, now, twice. It slows down towards the end. Are we sure about that? Have another listen just to the last line. Now, sometimes when music gets quieter, we are under the impression that it's getting slower, just because the whole tone is becoming more peaceful and calm. But it's not always the case, if we just put a metronome beat against it, that it's actually getting slower. So what about other than now? Sapphire said twice. You are actually correct. So after this big crescendo at the beginning, there's definitely a slowing down there. But what happens next? Etc. Okay? Right. There was a gradual slowing down in the middle and then a pause. Now, well done, this is George. Okay. There is no tempo change at the end. There is in the middle. Trick question almost, wasn't it? Because usually in that question, most of the time in the exam, the tempo change usually is at the end. And we always get used to feeling that and expecting it almost, that the tempo will slow down at the end. But in this case it wasn't, so well done for noticing that. Now I like the fact that you said a pause and then back to tempo. Okay, so well done, this is George. All right, and then after that, we had a second, as Sapphire already mentioned, a second slowing down. Possibly a question that involved would be a little bit advanced for grade 2, but it's good practice. Now, good point, Deathmaster. Can I do a theory? It's something I'm thinking about for the future. I'm not quite sure how it would work as a live stream. I've got plenty of theory tutorials on my channel, but as a maybe we could go through a past paper together. There's an idea for the future. Yes, I think that might work. Anyway, let's move on to a different question for this particular oral thing. Tonality. Would you say that this piece was mainly, not all the time, but mainly in a major or a minor tonality? Okay. I could give you a few bars again just to give you a chance to answer. Playing until I get an answer. Who's going to stop me playing by answering? Thank you, Beppo, because I was just about to get to a place where it changed, and then that would have been awkward. All right, major mostly. Okay, now, there are a few instances where it does go into the minor, but mainly, as the question was, is it in a major or minor key? It was in a major key. And in the ABRSM oral test, sometimes they do have that particular way of phrasing it. Is it mainly in a major or a minor key? Okay, now, here's a question that confuses a lot of you. What musical features give this piece its character? Okay, character is a very sort of emotive question. What does that actually mean? We've talked about it in previous live streams, and you can get some more ideas by going back on the previous ones. And by the way, if you want to check out any of the previous live streams, there should be in, let's just see if we can get the angle right, that side, yep. Because it's always going in reverse. Whatever I do on here, a little eye in the top of your screen, if you hover over it with a mouse, and then it should appear, which has a card saying more sort of oral training from there. So on my blog, we have some more oral training, which has the old live streams and other things there that can help you a little bit more with the oral. So plenty more examples. But anyway, for now, the character of this piece. What musical features give this piece its character? First of all, we have to decide what the character is. So how does it make you feel? What emotions does it conjure up in you as you hear this piece? I'm not sure if you can actually make out the title from the quality of the camera on the book, but that itself might give you a little bit of a clue. All right? And bear in mind that this is a question you need to prepare before the exam. All right? Right, now George, you're saying what stands out to you is at the beginning where there is a broken chord and then a chord. Okay, but what character does that give you? You're describing musical features, and they're good musical features, but that's not answering the exact question that the examiner's asking for. Okay, Beppo, a lilting melody evokes a calmness. All right, and then quite romantic. Okay, good. Now we're getting some words now, some emotive words. Calmness and romantic. Right. Because if you're doing, I don't think you'll have to do this for grade 3 yet, Beppo, but soon you'll be going on to higher grades and you will have to be preparing for this sort of thing. Before you go into the exam, don't be surprised by this question. Have some set answers already. Some very basic ones are happy and sad, for example. And if you're really stuck, you could fall back on one of those, okay? And then what musical features make it happy or sad? Right, major key, fast is happy. Being very, very basic now, and hopefully your answers could be a little bit deeper than that. And then slow and a minor key would be sad. So have those as basic fallbacks if you can't think on the day. But you could prepare maybe a list of 4 or 5 different types of moods that you could think that music might evoke, and have some musical features that make it that way. All right, so we had lilting melody, the 6/8. Now, I like the way you said lilting, all right? The 6/8 sort of rocking feel to it, gives it a calmness. So there's a musical feature that provides a certain character to the piece. What else have we mentioned? A flowing melody. So when you say flowing, the legato, yes, Sapphire? When you say flowing, we use the word legato. So the legato movement of the music makes it very calm. All right, it's flowing. All right, and Deathmaster 64 also saying it's sounding calm. So you get the idea. It's not actually a difficult question, but people just don't understand how to answer it. You just got to think of how it makes you feel and think of some musical things that relate to that feeling, okay? If you've got a question, Deathmaster, if it's related to what we're doing now, fair enough. Does it have to be for Trinity? Right, okay, now, these oral training sessions are pretty much overlapping both ABRSM and Trinity. Now, the thing is, I can't give you specific, not legally anyway, not according to copyright law, specific ABRSM oral tests. I could get the ABRSM oral test book out, play you some tests exactly from the book, and you could answer them, all right? And there are channels on YouTube that do this, but they do so illegally, because actually that book is the ABRSM copyright. And to play something from that book in a live public performance, you need permission from the author. So we can't do it exactly like that, all right? But I can train you in getting ready for the type of things that you might get. Now, what I specifically have done in this training session, and I've done in generally for the last few training sessions, I'm using a Trinity Style question. Now, by that I mean, in Trinity, you tend to have one piece and lots of questions on the same piece, like we're doing today. But the actual questions that I'm asking are possibly a little bit more towards the ABRSM syllabus. Okay, so Trinity Style question to ask ABRSM questions. So I'm mixing it up so that no one can accuse me of breaching copyright. Anyway, we'll get back to the oral training. Also, the melody line rises to a climax by ascending and then relaxes by descending. Yeah, good point, okay? So there is some rise and fall in the emotions. Anyway, that's the character. Now, here is a tricky question for this particular piece. Generally, it is the most sought after video on my channel. If I go to my channel analytics, I have one video that every month gets the most watch time of all my videos, and I've got about 1,000. And this one every month gets the same #1 ranking of people what they're searching for on YouTube, and that is recognizing the style and period of a piece of music. So if you're stuck on that question, I'm sure you can find that video. If not, stick a comment in the notes below this video later and I'll give you a link for it. But anyway, the style and period. What period of music do you think this piece comes from? Now we have an option of Baroque, classical, romantic, and we could call it contemporary, right? 20th century music. It's a little bit tricky, this one, because it might not be exactly as it seems. I'll play you a few bars and have a little think about it. Maybe play the whole thing. And while I'm playing it, don't just give me the period, but the reason why you think it's from that period, okay? Okay, right, this is George. Now, you're giving very good answers in terms of the reasons that you give, right? Romantic due to the gradual changes in dynamics, very flowing and legato melody. Okay, and in the romantic period, it is exactly that sort of style where you have a lot of dynamic range. The melodies tend to be quite flowing. There are gradual changes, although in classical music you also get, like the Mozarts and the Beethoven, things like crescendo and decrescendo, but it's that much more extreme in the romantic period. Okay. And now, Sapphire reckons contemporary because of the shifts in tonality and the chromatic notes. I'll tell you at the end. Right, okay. Winky Cow, you're saying use of pedal. All right, use of pedal, what period then? Okay, we're excluding, by use of pedal, probably the Baroque period. And 50-50 the classical period, although you do get pedal used in some classical music, but not quite so as much, yeah? In the romantic period, you can have pedal all the way through a piece. In classical, you get little dabs of it here and there, okay? And Beppo, you would say modern, it's a bit Debussy-like. Now, I like that idea. A bit ethereal, sort of that, what do they call it? The impressionist type style, yeah? Right, let's carry on reading your answer. It's a bit Debussy-like so that it would make it romantic. There are major seventh dissonances, but no major. Can't read your writing. You were typing so fast, you've made a little bit of a mess of that. But anyway, right. I'm going to give you the date. Right, the composer himself was Walter Carroll, and he lived from 1869, so he was born in the Romantic period, and died in 1955. So he died in the, what we could call the contemporary, the 20th century period. And this actual piece, well, he wasn't writing for the first few years of his life probably, but this actual piece was written in 1922. So it is 20th century, it is contemporary, and well done for spotting that. I think it was Sapphire was talking about the shifts in tonality. There are some rather interesting changes in the keys, which in a Romantic period would have done it a little bit differently, okay? So well done for you getting that. Your spelling is discords, yeah. Discords of syncopation, yeah. Okay. Right, now let's think about, yeah. This is our favourite part of this question, oral training. Sight singing in reverse. All right, we did this last week and it worked out quite well. I can't obviously test you on your sight singing because I can't hear you, but we can do reverse sight singing where you name the notes that I'm playing. Okay, so this is in a key of G major, and I'm going to give you 5 simple notes from the melody, and I want you to just name those melody notes. Now we'll try and be a little bit more advanced, not just one at a time, but the first person who gets all 5 in order will get the prize. I don't know what the prize is going to be. Just a big thumbs up from me maybe. But right, here is the key chord again. I'll even give you a tonic. Now, somewhere in this tune we have this melody, which I am now going to cover my hand just in case you can see it. Who is going to get those all 5 correct in order? Okay. Tonic, try it again. In Trinity, you don't have to do any sight singing, but naming notes and intervals is a big part of the Trinity exam, so it's similar to that as well. Here are those 5 notes again. Tonic, and here are the 5 notes. Okay, first answer, Sapphire, E, D, C, B, A. And Beppo, sorry, it doesn't even start on an E. Beppo, D, B, E. Oh, 3 out of 5, Beppo. Deathmaster. No. Right, I'm giving you a little clue. Beppo had 3 out of 5. Here's your key chord again. Your tonic. And here are your 5 notes. Okay, I'm going to play what Sapphire wrote down. She wrote down E, D, C, B, A, which are all step movements. Yeah? Now, if you can hear, there are most of the time more than step movements. Okay, we'll give you the first note. It is a D. So Beppo, well done for your D. Okay, now, you got 2 others, right? So the D, B, G, what are the last 2 notes? Don't worry, you have to apologise, Sapphire, but it's all good training for everyone, all right? Don't worry, no one else has got them right yet either. So we've got 3 out of 5. D, B, G. E is correct, but still waiting for the last note. It's not a C. Sorry. D, B, G, E. Now listen carefully. Is that a step or is it more than a step movement at the end? Right. It's a D. Well done. So George gets the big thumbs up, the prize, because that was quite tricky. Okay. Right. Now, that if you can do that, you should be able to sight sing, okay? And you should be able to do the intervals questions in Trinity. Okay, next, I want to go on to the texture of the piece. Now, the texture is how the layers, the strands, are put together. You know, you have like a sandwich. You have maybe butter and then ham and then some salad and all the different layers put together and how they react with each other. Okay, we have some words like homophonic and polyphonic, and I'm going to go into those in a little bit more detail today because there is some confusion, but I'll explain that later. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a think about the texture used in this piece. First of all, how many voices can you hear? Because that's one thing that you could start off with. All right. Okay, if Death Master you're going, I'm not sure why you're saying bye so many times, but there we go. Please don't clog up the chat with spam, otherwise we'll have to just put you on a silent hold, okay? Right, now, how many voices can you hear? I'm going to play the opening again. Two voices, Scarlet Ibis. Oh, is it Ibis? I can, yeah. There are two hands, but each hand is doing more than one thing. All right, it's got a bass line and a broken chord and a melody on top for most of the time, so three voices. Getting closer, right. In the left hand. There are two voices there. But then in the right hand, is this one voice or not? The lower notes in each of those arpeggio figures holds on and is stronger. This is the tune in the middle. At the same time, there's a voice above it doing the arpeggios. Okay, it just so happens that the arpeggio first note is the same as what you might call the alto voice underneath it. So there are two voices in the right hand, which makes four voices. Anyway, you wouldn't be expected to give that much detail in an oral test exam, but it's an interesting exercise to try and work out how many voices there are. Now, someone just said homophonic, right? Two notes in the left hand and melody right hand, homophonic. Okay. Homophonic and polyphonic. I want to go into these words a little bit more detail. If you said that in the exam, you'd probably get a reasonable mark, because we usually think of homophonic as being the opposite of polyphonic. And this came up in one of my other videos. A question came up on it recently this week. And technically that isn't correct, but it's what most people understand by the word polyphonic and homophonic. Okay, so homophonic is literally just one voice. If you have a duet, that is already polyphonic. Now that duet can be singing the same rhythm or have an independent rhythm, which is more what people refer to as polyphonic. But technically, okay, these electric keyboards, sometimes they talk about 64 or 88 note polyphony. All right, you can have many different sounds sounding at the same time, and they could all be playing the same rhythm. So that is technically polyphonic. What I'm trying to get at here is there is another word that describes a special type of polyphony, which refers to when voices work independently, when they're not the same rhythm and they're interweaving with each other, and that is called counterpoint or contrapuntal. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard of that term before. If you said polyphonic in an exam, I think they will understand what you mean, but technically that word can mean playing the same rhythm. Okay, so contrapuntal, that's it, Beppo, you've got it. I would probably recommend, if you hear different voices working independently of each other, especially rhythmically and interweaving, you use the word contrapuntal rather than polyphonic. And I've even used it on some of my videos as well in the past, okay, because in general usage that word is often used to mean something it's not quite describing accurately. So contrapuntal is the word, but in this piece the rhythms are pretty much aligned vertically, so we wouldn't call it contrapuntal, okay? And homophonic would be fine. Okay, now, where's that little list of questions? Right, modulations. You can have modulations to different keys. Typically in the grade exams for oral tests, you have dominant, subdominant, and the relative major or minor. Now we've already established this piece is mostly in a major key. So we wouldn't have a modulation to the relative major because we're already in a major, but we might have a modulation to the relative minor. I want to give you two modulations that actually exist in this piece. Okay, the first one finishes after 8 bars. So I'm going to play the first 8 bars plus a little bit more and tell me which key it modulates to. You have, as I said, dominant, subdominant, or relative minor. It's going to happen there. And we've modulated. But to what? Did we modulate to the dominant, which usually has a rising fill because of the fact that a note has been made sharper, has been raised by a semitone? Or to the subdominant, which has a sinking fill because a note has been flattened by a semitone somewhere? Or to the relative minor, is quite easy to recognise because we sound like we're in a minor key, of course. Right, we have Beppo suggesting it's to the dominant. And Sapphire also. Could you hear a note being sharpened anywhere? Everyone's going for the dominant. I'm sorry to disappoint you all. Okay, I said it's starting here when I played this bit. That note there, has that gone up or down from its key signature? Because in G major, all right, can you feel it going down there? Subdominant. Well done, butterfly wings. You've just joined us and got your first answer correct. Yes. Now, it's confusing because sometimes the melody is rising, but the harmony at the same time is sinking. And you've got to feel whether that harmony note is going down or up, okay? Have another listen. Here's your tonic, G major. Now the melody's going up. And down. Okay, and so we arrive in actually C major there. And, yep, you do well to have a big grin, butterfly wings. Well done. Subdominant as well from Jane. You got the right answer there as well. Okay, I think that were the only two that said subdominant from my chat that I can see. Good. I'm going to give you another one. I want to carry on just for a few more bars. That's fairly easy. Dominant, subdominant, or relative minor. Would you like to hear it again? Let's give it a try. Sorry, I messed that up. I wasn't concentrating. I'll do it again because I messed that up. And we have, yes, relative minor 3 times. This is George, you're the first one in with the answer there, and Sapphire and Beppa also correct. Okay, which leaves us with our final question. Now this is a little bit advanced, but you are all going to be going on to the higher grades at some point in the future. Cadences. Okay, and we have a couple of cadences in this piece which I could highlight. I've changed them very slightly because of all the arpeggios involved in this piece. It's easier to hear the cadence as block chords. Before we do the cadence question, I'd like to listen to the bass line and work out what chords are being used. Okay, so for example, here is our tonic triad, okay? And if we go through this little sequence, okay, what cadence was that? Okay, now, here, no, I've changed key, so there's a different tonic triad. I do apologise. And then I did an extra major triad in there. But anyway, in this major key, sorry, in this minor key, it wasn't a major key. What is this chord here? Listen to the bass note. If you're in E major, how many steps up from E is this bass note? I keep saying major, I mean minor, I do apologise. 4 steps up. Again, minor. There's the 4th. So 5. Well done, Beppo. I'm just distracted by something in my head at the moment. Keep playing major instead of minor. Right, so that's chord 5. And as you rightly said, Jane, 5 going down to this chord would make a perfect cadence. So what is that last chord? Pretty obvious. If you know it's perfect, then you should know what chord makes a perfect cadence. 5, 2, first one in, gets the thumbs up prize. Chord 1, there you are, there's your prize, Scarlett, a thumbs up. Now, let's do the one at the end. And again, I've slightly altered it, so I'll try not to put myself off by doing the wrong one. Where did I put that? Yeah. Okay. This time our tonic is G major. If you could first of all just name the last 2 chords. If you're saying 5 to 1, I'm thinking you're probably still on the last question. So let's draw a line under what Beppo just written 5-1. These last 2 chords that you're hearing now, okay, for the second cadence in this piece. Now I know I'm playing 2 little notes in the right hand against 1 bass note. Those 2 are not separate chords, they're just 1 chord. Okay, let's just make it 1 chord. What are those 2 chords there? They're not 1 to 5, unfortunately, Scarlett. 4 to 1. Well done, George. Okay. And that means it's a plagal cadence. Excellent answer. Okay. Now, some people call this the Amen cadence because if you sing the tonic notes, which you could hear in chord 4, Amen, yeah, you can stay on the tonic note through both of those chords. So if you can hear the tonic in the last one and the one before it, then that's a plagal cadence, 4-1. Well done. Okay, so that's gone through some questions, basically all the way from grade 1 up to grade 8 for both ABRSM and Trinity in the space of, how long have we been on there? About 45 minutes. Not bad. And thanks to all of you who have participated. We will be doing another live stream in 2 weeks' time, and it will be getting towards, I don't know in different countries, but I think in most places in the world, getting towards the end of the ABRSM examining period, and things have got a little bit quiet over Christmas. So we'll probably have a break until January after the one in 2 weeks' time, which is, I did write the date down just so you can put it in your diaries. On there. The 2nd of December. All right, that will be the next live stream. Next week, there won't be one because I'm going to be watching the final race of the Formula One Championship and I'll be busy. But anyway, in 2 weeks' time, set a time in your diary. It's going to be the same time as this, 2 o'clock. And then that will be the last one of the year and we'll start again in January. I think these are starting to become quite useful. Spread the word, and the more people we have in participating, I think the more fun it is for all of you. You're all saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank you because it's your participation that makes these successful. When I first started these, I had about 5 people following, and it was such slow going. You can't imagine, all right? And I thought, oh, is there any point doing these? But as more people get to know about it, you know, spread the word, we have an interaction. Then we can have little competitions like who can get this answer first and get the thumbs up prize, okay? And then everyone gets benefit out of it. So for now, I'm going to sign off in a moment and we'll see you all again on the 2nd of September. So goodbye for now.